How do we master our habits? And more importantly, how do we get rid of the bad ones? Today, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about this and how you can master your habits to get the success that you see other people achieving. So a habit is something that you are repeating, a behavior that you're repeating on a regular basis, so much so that it becomes something that we're almost doing subconsciously. If you take a look at a successful person around you, that might be someone who is successful in business, with their fitness and their health, anyone that you know, there's always someone around you that you just think, how do they manage to do that? If you look at that person carefully, the only difference between that person and you is that that person has managed to master their habits. They are repeating the same behaviors on a regular basis in order to gain that success. They are not a magical unicorn. They are just doing the things that the rest of us who are not getting the success don't want to do. They do it, and that's how they get their success. But you have to learn how to implement these good habits. It's not something that we're taught to do at school. And arguably, it's one of the most important things that we need to learn. Because once we've developed bad habits over a number of years, it becomes who we are. And it's really, really tricky sometimes to then change that. And too challenging for some of us. And we try and fail and then don't get anywhere. So for a good example of that is New Year's resolutions, for example, that currently some of us are either making or have already failed. If you take exercise as an example of a New Year's resolution, so many people say, okay, this year, this is it, I'm joining the gym or I'm going to run a marathon. They start out and within a few days, particularly by February, less than 5% of people are still working on those resolutions. It can be really, really hard to master them. And once we've failed, we feel like a failure, but then we keep reinforcing this pattern. We try again the following year. And when we reinforce the pattern, it's not making us feel good about ourselves and not moving us forwards. So we need a strategy. Once we have a strategy, we're more likely to succeed. So how long does it take to change a habit? Well, there's different schools of thought on this. It used to be people thought that it would take 21 days to change a habit. Well, really it varies. It can take anywhere between 21 days and 3 months. And it depends on the person and it depends on the habit that you're trying to change. If it's a particularly challenging one, it's going to take longer. So we need to give ourselves a break, but we also need to acknowledge that it may take a little bit more time and we need to be committed to doing it. So something I read recently that I thought was really powerful was in Hal Elrod's book, A Miracle Morning. And in the book, he talks about a strategy that he has used and that lots of his clients use to really master habits. And he works on a 30-day timescale. So he splits the 30 days into 3 10-day timescales. He calls the first one, the first period of 10 days, unbearable. So this is the time where you're trying to either enforce a positive behavior. So I don't know, that might be in terms of exercise. I want to run a marathon, or I want to exercise daily. I want to lose X amount of weight. Whatever that is, it's a positive action that you want to work towards. Or it could be a habit you want to get rid of. If you want to stop smoking, stop drinking. So it's either going to be a positive behavior that you want to work towards or a negative one that you're trying to get rid of. The first 10 days, he says, are going to be unbearable. You have to accept that you're going to absolutely hate doing what you have to do in order to achieve what you want to achieve. So those small daily habits that you know you need to implement, you're not going to enjoy it. You'll start out feeling excited. Those first few days, particularly with exercising, you get your new gear, you get your yoga mats, you join the gym, you're going with a friend. It's all really exciting and you feel really pleased with yourself. But after that, it becomes difficult. It does become unbearable. It's hard and you're not going to enjoy it. But you need to accept that. This is a temporary feeling. So get through those first 10 days, acknowledging that that is going to feel very, very tricky. Then you're going to move into the second timescale, the second set of 10 days. And this is what Hal calls the uncomfortable phase. So it's not as bad as the first 10 days. It's not unbearable anymore, but it's still uncomfortable. You're starting to get used to it. You're developing some confidence. You're starting to feel more positive. But it still requires discipline. It still requires commitment. You've still got to keep moving forwards. And in terms of exercise, it's still going to feel so much easier at the end of the day to slump down on the sofa and grab that glass of wine. However, you need to be committed. You need to know that up and, between days 11 and 20, it's still going to be uncomfortable. And you need to stay committed to doing it, knowing that this will move you into the final set of 10 days. So when you move into day 21 and onwards, this is when you become unstoppable. So a lot of people, if you have it in your head, well, it takes 21 days to change a habit. I've always known that. The problem with that can sometimes be that you get to 21 days and I've done it. I've changed the habit. It now no longer feels as bad as it did. But you need to keep going. It's really important that you then move on and spend the next 9 to 10 days making sure that that habit is sustainable. So this is where the transformation really happens. You're moving from kind of trying to do something to becoming that thing. So the habit, as I talked about at the very beginning, has now become something almost in your subconscious. It's part of what you do, it's who you are. And if that's exercise, it means that you're exercising on a near daily basis and it feels normal. It's part of what you do, it's part of who you are. So please, when you're trying to master your habits, have a think about that process. The first 10 days being unbearable, accept it will be, but it's temporary. The second set of 10 days are going to feel a little bit better, but it's still going to need your commitment to get through to the final 10 days. And that's when you become unstoppable. That's when the transformation will happen. So I would encourage you to take on the challenge of stepping outside of your comfort zone. Pick something you want to become or something you want to change, a negative habit you want to get rid of. Take on that challenge, but keep working on it for at least 30 days to become the person you want to be. And I would love to know how you get on mastering these habits.